Hello gamers and welcome back to the Strategy Game Butt Kicker channel. I'm your host, Strategy Game Butt Kicker. We're looking again at this current campaign, and Conflict of Nations, where I'm playing as Germany and not building planes or helicopters. Instead, I'm focusing on armor without tanks and some artillery. And I'm going to give a little bit of an update about what's happening in the game. But more than that, I wanted to talk about the psychology of strategy games. And this specifically goes toward the psychology of strategy games in which you are playing against other players. And when you are beating another player, you will find that other players can be divided generally into three groups. One can be called pests. Another can be called quitters, and then a third can be called strategists. When we're losing a war, we want to be that third kind. We want to be a strategist as much as possible. Now, I want to make clear, I'm not talking about once it becomes hopeless. Quitting a game when there is no possible way you can win, and just allowing the other player to finish up taking your territory does not make you a quitter. I want to be specific about that, and I want to explain what a quitter is. But first, I want to talk about pests. And I'm going to talk about two nations that I am currently at war with. One is Greece. Yes, I am still at war with Greece. Now, as far as I know, Greece has two things. Greece has this one little air superiority fighter and this one corvette. I had almost killed this corvette before, but that was right as I was attacked by a rock. So I had to stop fighting with this corvette. I am back to trying to get rid of it. But that was, I was pulled away by a rock, which is the other nation. But first, Greece. There is no way Greece can win. As long as I am active, there is no way Greece can win. They have two cities, two homeland cities. They're about to be losing some of their others. Let's see, I don't think this is... Okay, so they have three homeland cities. So they have some cities. They have a few resources, but they are tiny. They have very limited resources. There is no way they can build an army substantial enough to take over my country. Even if my country were an NPC, if I quit playing, they would still have trouble building enough of an army to take over an NPC with as much stuff as I have. They have lost, but they still haven't quit. I don't even think they have not made another capital for themselves. So they haven't even made another capital, which is something an NPC would do. They're not playing like an NPC, but they keep logging on and they keep just hitting my troops. They keep watching my troops with this little fighter, and they keep hitting them with this boat here. And I'm going to be taking out that boat. It's going to go bye-bye. But hopefully they won't retreat when it gets close to being out of life. But they don't have, and there's no way they're going to have enough to really ever pose a significant problem again. And once I have more substantially taken care of Iraq, I will be coming back and taking the rest of their cities. And that's kind of a done deal. Now, pests are annoying, but they don't pose any real risk to you. They are just annoying. They complicate things a little bit. I've had some players who, when I was taking the last of their territory, they would take a couple of infantry left, and they would take them out to sea and wait and then come back and try to land on my shores somewhere else later. They're not actually, maybe they are actually thinking they can win. I doubt that. They're being annoying. They're angry because they lost. Even when they are the attackers, they're angry because they've lost, and they're just being annoying. So that's a pest. Not really a major factor, just annoying. But we get into some major factors with the other two categories, quitters and strategists. You will find a lot of quitters. Actually, we could have a third group. We'll call them the redundants. So you have redundants, strategists, and quitters. quitters, when they realize that winning a war is not going to be easy and that they might even lose, they will just quit and go somewhere else. They'll go play a different game. They'll go start over in a different world, even when they still have everything they need to win a war. Right now, Iraq still has a lot to work with. It still has all of its homeland cities, a bunch of other cities, a bunch of other territory, probably still a number of troops and things and planes and stuff like that in its own territory. Still has plenty to work with, may have quit. The redundants, we'll call them redundants because they just tried to build up and do the same thing again. So, for example, let's take a look at what has been happening in this war. So I'm going to look at myself. So between Iraq and Germany, I have lost a lot of troops. I am not happy with how many troops and equipment and stuff like that I've lost. I'm not happy with that number right there. If that were my number, I would be way less happy. That is probably the vast majority of the stuff he had to start with. And remember, this is a lot of anti-tank and stuff like that. So even in lower levels, lower infantry levels, one infantry does not equal like 1,000 at lower levels. Now, once you get up to higher levels, then it does. But at lower levels, when you kill one infantry, it does not equal 1,000. It equals however many people it takes to make one unit of infantry. And the same with tanks and airplanes and stuff like that. You don't get 1 for 1 with losses. So he's lost a lot of stuff. Obviously very unhappy. So if that unhappiness drives him to say, well, there's no way I can win, I'm just going to quit, then he falls into the quitter category. That makes it the easiest for me. Because, yes, he will have stuff in his cities. I will have to take that out, but he's not going to be moving things around. He's not going to be flying his planes around and attacking me and stuff like that. Makes it easy to finish taking over. The indication that that may be the case is what happened right here with Venice. Now, after I had taken all of the other cities that he had up here, and see, he has no more cities. He still has some territory up here, which there's nothing I can do about without going through Iran or through Belarus, which Belarus is about to be gone. Looks like Finland is taking them out too. He has no cities up here anymore, and his last ditch attempt in that first wave to try to take over. All right, looks like we killed that ship. Yay! Anyway, the last thing he landed was here in Venice. He took it over. He had, I think, 3 infantry and 2 fighting vehicles. And you remember in the last video, I talked about how I was setting up a blockade. I thought he was probably going to come up through this way, so I set up a blockade where almost all of the roads down here intersect. So if he came up this way, he was going to meet my blockade. And then I waited, and I went to bed because it got late, and I got up the next morning, and he hadn't moved. So he had put his troops there and had logged off. He hadn't moved them anymore at all. And so I started moving artillery in to take them out. Easy to take them out that way. I don't have to suffer any losses except for population in Venice. And my artillery hit him several times. It hits once an hour, so it hit him several times before finally he did log back on, and he did start moving those troops right before the last hit, which wiped them out. So he was off, I think, if I remember correctly, if I'm estimating correctly, he was off for more than 24 hours. Now, I kind of understand why he would do that. It's pretty rough to lose that number of troops, that kind of stuff. He'd probably sent most of his stuff up here to take over my country and lost it all and lost cities and went from being in second place to now is in 4th place. And he has 4 or 5 cities less than he did, something like that, maybe more. So I understand why he was frustrated. he did quit for a while. He did come back. So I don't know whether, after he lost those, he would just hang it up and go to another game or another instance of this game. I don't know. But there's a good indication that he might be a quitter. If he's a quitter, then as long as nobody else attacks me, which has just been happening in this game, as long as that doesn't happen for a while, then I can clean up all this and it should be pretty easy sailing. But there's the possibility that he is a redundant, meaning that he lost with the strategy he used before. He may be trying to build up the same kinds of troops and use the same kind of strategy again. So I could wind up with him invading mostly with, if I waited long enough, if I let him build up, I might wind up with him invading with armored fighting vehicles and anti-tank and infantry and doing the same kind of invasion and probably just losing it all again. Now, a redundant individual may also be waiting for help from the coalition. That is also a possibility. But, and that's also true for a strategist. A strategist will look at what happened. Will say, okay, I came in with this and I did this and I got my butt handed to me doing it. Which, yes, I did lose a lot of troops, but he got his butt handed to him. This was a clear, the first wave of this, which is where he tried to take over my country, was a clear victory for Germany and a clear loss for Iraq. Now, the second phase of this is likely going to be Germany invading Iraq, and we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. I suspect it will turn out working out on my behalf. But if he's a strategist, he looked at that and said, okay, what I did before didn't work. I am going to make some different stuff. Or I'm going to make the same stuff and I'm going to use it differently. He might even, as a strategist, look at this and say, okay, I've lost up here. If I make a bunch more stuff and send it all up here, I'm going to lose that too. I'm going to turtle up down here. So as a strategist, he may try to invade again differently. He may try to turtle up. But if he's a strategist, that means he has not disappeared. And when I fight him on his own territory, I'm going to experience something different than I had before. If he's smart, that's going to be planes, because he did have some success with planes. Now, I am also a strategist, so I'm coming in with anti-aircraft. So I am not overly concerned if he comes in with planes. He can do that. He'll get his plane shot down. But those are the possibilities. Now, we know what Greece is. Greece is a pest. Greece declared on me. I gave him a chance for peace. I said, hey man, I don't really want to fight you right now. If you offer me peace, if you get out of my territory and offer me peace, you can have it. And he didn't take it. He continued fighting and losing. And even though there's no way he can actually win and beat me, he has 3 homeland cities and is going to lose those. He's still around and still being annoying just for the sake of being annoying. Iraq, I am not yet sure what we have. That long pause, the fact that he didn't handle this very well. I mean, if that's me, if I've invaded in multiple directions and then I managed to take over Venice, but that's all I have. I have 2 armored personnel, or armored fighting vehicles, and 3 infantry in 1 city in this area. Once I've taken it, I'm going to get out. I already know that's not going to withstand what's coming at it. I'm going to get out. He left it there. And even after the artillery was hitting it, he didn't turn around and try to get out this way so that he could keep what he had. He started trying to invade a territory next door, even though he had 2 things left. He had an armored fighting vehicle and 1 infantry, and they were both down in the one little spot of red life. and he decided to continue trying to invade even though he was being hit with artillery. So I'm thinking he is probably not a strategist, though I could be wrong. There's only one way I can know, and we will find out. He is probably not a strategist. He is probably either going to be redundant, and he's going to hit with the same thing. When I get down here, he's still going to be playing, and he's going to come back at me with the same stuff and the same strategies, the same types of strategies he was using before. Or he's going to have quit. And I actually lean more toward that last, just because of the long pause. I could be wrong. I am willing to accept that I could be wrong here, but I do suspect it's going to turn out, when I get down here, he is going to have quit. But I have now taken out Greece's one little ship, which means it will be easy enough to bring things through. I have, let's see, I can now build, I believe, I cannot, I have to wait, it should be high enough, 13 and 20, okay, well, well, I may have a little bit longer to wait before I can build a surface-to-air missile launcher. But I want a surface-to-air missile launcher. I am working on a mobile anti-air vehicle. That'll take care of if he's using helicopters also. So I want to move my troops in with one surface-to-air missile, one mobile anti-air. I'm also going to be building some more of those just for keeping in my cities, because now we're getting to a stage where you know, there are still quite a few active players, including people in his coalition. And I still have to keep an eye on that, because as I start moving into his territory, they may jump in to defend. So far, they have not, which, by the way, that is a lesson to you also. If you are a new player and you're looking for some insight with this is a good piece of insight for you. If you are in a coalition, you are less likely to be defended if you are the aggressor in a war, particularly if it wasn't a very smart one. If you take on somebody who's bigger than you and you start getting your keister kicked, your coalition mates are less likely to just jump into your defense than if you either work it out to work with them cooperatively. You know, you talk to your coalition mates and you say, hey, I want to attack this guy, let's attack together. Or if you are the victim of aggression. But as my troops start to move in, that changes the nature of the war. I'm no longer just repelling him, I'm taking over his stuff. And I have to start thinking more about what Iran might do, and even India. I'm less concerned about India. It's not as strong as Iran, I believe. It's a little bit further away. So it would take a little bit longer to get here, but still might get involved. So his coalition is still kind of an unknown, but as of yet has not posed any issue. And I suspect he's going to be a quitter, but we'll see. Anyway, to differentiate again, if you have just lost it, like Greece has lost this war. If he quit, that would be fine. That would be completely reasonable. That would not put him in the quitter category. He wasn't a very good player, but it wouldn't put him in the quitter category. Iraq, if he quits now, you know, that's kind of a quitter, but I don't really care because it makes it easy for me. So thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, come back and watch more videos, share with somebody if you think they'd find this interesting. A lot of what I talk about here, like today I'm talking about the psychology of what other people are going to do and how to sometimes you know, get an inkling of what you might be looking for, can be useful in a lot of circumstances, even real life. But you know, a lot of strategy games, you're gonna find the quitters and the strategists and the redundants in life generally. So send this along if you think somebody's interested. Come back and watch more videos, and thank you for being here.